Faders of the Lost Art.
It's one of those every day.
It
Welcome,
definitely played in my head.
welcome to episode 12 of Faders of the Lost Art. Can you believe we've done 12
Woo.
episodes
Are we on
already?
12 already?
Wow.
Crazy. We've got 12 in the bag. We've had amazing guests.
Insane.
Big thank you to all of our guests that have been on so far. Legendary gentlemen, folks in the industry. Heavy hitters. Today we got an extra special guest who I want to start by giving a thank you to our co-host Ken Lewis, Bob Horn, Fareed Salama, all giants in their own right. Go check their credits. You'll see what I'm talking about. But today we've got none other than a hit master, a hit maker, a genius. He's a producer. He's an engineer. He's a genius. He's behind the scenes. He's with the, you know what I mean, the people making the rules or deciding everything that's going on.
Packing
He's
your
working-
lunch. Packing your lunch.
a little bit of everything. He's been working with Teddy Riley to Whitney Houston to Michael Jackson, all the way to Ray Shremmer to one of my favorites, Aunt Clemens. I mean, there's not somebody
Hey,
that
That's a good one right
this
there.
man has not worked with. Please give me help on a warm welcome to Jean Marie Horvat. Thank you so much, Jean Marie, for coming on the show.
God,
Thanks
you
for
know what?
joining us.
But you know what? It's great to hang with friends, and studio cats. We don't see each other. We just pick up the phone. So now, this is even better. This is what we used to do in the hallways in the studios
Right.
in New York City.
Right.
You know what I'm
Why
saying?
you would book it
Yes.
like,
Yes.
Hit Factory or Electric Lady or Sony so you could see your friends down the hall in the other room and see what
Yep.
they were cooking up.
Yep.
Literally,
I think-
now we're bringing it to you, to your doorstep. So
Yeah, I miss that though, guys. I
Oh, I
really
do
do
too.
miss it. That
Oh, for sure.
and it's like, who's working today? I remember we were working with. I always loved seeing Dave Pensato at Enterprise, and just like the momentary, like you creep out after 2 hours, you peek out. Is anybody in the hallway? And you see Dave walking in with his long fucking red hair at that time. I miss that. I miss the days at Larrabee when I left New York to work on this stuff. I miss the giants, not just the engineers, but all of a sudden you see Alicia Keys walk down the hallway. You see like you see like Chico DeBarge talking to like Questlove at the Sony studios. I really do miss all that stuff.
Yeah,
I really do.
It was a real vibe. I remember running into Kanye at Sony. He was in B and I was in E one night and hadn't seen him in 2 years, hadn't gotten a single gig from him. And I asked my assistant, who's working tonight? And he's like, oh, Kanye's up in B. So I was like, oh, I just went up to B and knocked, reconnected with him. I worked with him every single day for the next 2 weeks. And then, it was like,
Crazy.
Those places were a great place to reconnect with, your friends and your clients and, people that you had made previous records with, or, the exchange of knowledge in those places was amazing too, especially between the assistants. And when I was coming up at Soundtrack, there was a fleet of like 9 or 10 assistants and we all taught each other everything and, made sure that the quality level of the assisting staff was as good as it could possibly be to elevate the whole studio. So I don't know how much of that there is left.
There isn't any. I went to see Harvey Mason's studio, Evergreen Studio, which is absolutely gorgeous, guys. And he took Enterprise 1 and Enterprise 2, which, Evergreen was Enterprise 2, but before that, it was Barbra Streisand's studio called Evergreen. And what he did to that facility is absolutely fucking amazing. He did a great job. So, we would talk. I said, I was talking to Ken about paying someone else's lease. It's like, so everybody's been asking me to come because I left the studio during COVID. I left the North Hollywood studio, left a lot of my stuff in there for Paul Foley. But I just felt after that point, I said, man, I'm going to probably lose out on a lot of work. And Ken's a testament to this. I gained more work by just developing a tone during the COVID time, which was, it was fucking insane, but it worked. It fucking worked. So now we're going to be building a piece of property in the back of the house that's just going to be dedicated to that. But before I do that, I'm gonna drive my fucking wife crazy. It's like, for
Well, you
all that
got to get
shit
some
out.
mileage out of it. I mean,
She,
you don't
she
want to
goes
finish
this.
too quickly.
No, she goes, yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm putting a Viagra in my studio.
It's exactly what it is.
Oh my God. But
Crazy.
but you know what? Here's something that I would like to bring up to your attention. They're not trying to pay fucking studio time. They're whoring us for gold.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's like, but you want everything.
Something that I miss. I definitely miss the whole resident mixers. I know LA still has a lot of it here and there, you know, sprinkled, but the resident mixers that lived in these big studios like the Larrabees and the,
Yep.
Michael
like
Brower out of Quad.
right,
Mm,
right,
Yeah.
I mean that's gone away in LA too, though. Now
yeah.
it's
yeah.
like very little of that left.
I think
Yeah.
everyone just expects
Andy
you to do it
Wallace out
from
of
home,
Soundtrack.
right? So I
Jason
miss that,
Joshua,
man, because
Jason
I really,
Joshua's at home.
yeah, I feel like I really miss the big studio vibe and being able to mentee under a great engineer.
I
Fareed,
tell
I
you,
agree with you on the mentee portion of it, but the big studio vibes, I'm not into that no more.
Gotcha,
yeah,
gotcha.
I gotta say, I have Jonathan Garcia is my staff guy here, and just having somebody else with a great brain in their head and a good pair of ears who stays current in this business that you can bounce ideas off of all day long is super valuable. And sometimes he's mastering Atmos here, sometimes he's assisting
Right.
engineer, whatever, but it's just like this, but all day long. And if I was home by myself and had nobody, I think it would be a different learning experience for me. I think I've grown a lot from having him around, which was unexpected. And of course he has. So go get
I,
interns and assistants, let them in.
I tried the intern thing, and sometimes Ken, and I don't know if you have this problem, Bob or Fareed or Nico, they don't want to learn or they don't want to work. They think they know everything, and it's like
Yeah.
I work efficiently because I have a step-by-step process that I go through, but they're not the same. And for you to start not doing something because you want to be the next great mixer, be the next best engineer. Because how we became better mixers,
Be the best intern first.
be the best intern too. But
Whew.
aspire for one to get to the other.
Right.
The only person I had that, I don't know if you know this program, guys. There was a guy that I had. His name's Colin Miller. He's the guy who made
He's a good friend.
he made T-Boy Audio, and that was the last of my engineers because I don't consider my assistant my engineer as an assistant.
Correct.
If you're coming to work with me, they're my cohorts in the
Yeah.
crime, and I want them
Team.
to have that respect. My
Fire.
assistant is the runner. You know what I'm saying? Those are
Right.
my assistants.
Right.
You got to give where credit's due to some of these young kids because they're coming with a chip in the shoulder, and it's like, what's it to us to buy them food and be respectable? Because I know they treated me like shit when I first started, and I remember Tony Maserati said to one of his clients that acted like an asshole to me. He said, "Don't you ever talk to him that way." And I didn't even start working with him.
I
And
love Tony Moss.
yeah,
Great.
Tony was great. Tony's the first guy that brought me into the studio. I was a fucking intern.
He
I was a
helped me-
runner.
He helped me a
Crazy.
ton early on in my career.
Now you worked at Soundtracks, right? Or
Yeah, I started as a assistant at Soundtrack and worked up to engineer at Soundtrack, but Tony was one of the people that I assisted for early. And, most of the guys on staff, nobody wanted to assist for Tony. And I was like, fuck, I want to always assist for Tony. And,
anal.
yeah, what I realized was like, if you show up and you're not there to assist for Tony with whatever the fuck he needs and make sure that his session runs the best it can run, you're going to have a bad day if you're not there for that. But if you're there to work hard and make sure that he is supported, he is going to turn around and teach you shit. He's going to take you under his wing. He's going to make sure that you understand what he's doing. And that was kind of the relationship that I built with him early on, just by doing my job as the assistant as well as I could. Fascinating how that works, but
That goes a long way.
That's the secret formula: is give a shit what you're doing. Interns is not giving somebody free work; it's getting yourself college plus level education for free from somebody that you can't get it from otherwise. And
Absolutely.
if that's not worth it to you, somebody like us spots that real quick and you're out the door. And if it is worth it to you, I have a great intern now. He's been with us for about a year and he gets it. And he's, you know, he works hard and he contributes around here. But they are people.
Yeah, the guys with the right attitude are less and less these days. It's hard to find.
Very.
I see a lot
Everyone
of.
says if only I had some, you know, great mixer that I could work under, but nobody wants to put the work under.
Right. It's a lot of.
I think people don't realize the difference, like what you might learn on your own discovery through YouTube or, you know, any of the Mix with the Masters, Produce Like a Pro, which I do videos for, but what you might learn on those is trumped by one day in the room with a pro.
It really is.
It's just, I've experienced it myself, but I've also given that to other people, both assistants and people that just come around to hang out. You know, I have kind of an open door to my friends, like if they want to come just hang, because I don't like to be working alone, you know, but they always say they learn so much more in one day hanging out in the studio than they do with all their research a week and online, you know.
Right. That's still how I learned best. Is, you know, I just went to the Mike Miller Atmos masterclass at Sweetwater. It was his masterclass. I bought a ticket, and I learned more in those 2 days from that guy than I've learned in a long time about certain things. And you got to just be open to being a sponge for whoever wants to put that knowledge out there. And man, it just never ends.
It's like
so
us
would
being...
you learn? Would you learn? What new Atmos things are you doing?
Oh man!
After that,
well, we came back and we completely reset up all of the speakers, realigned them, and that was the biggest game changer of just changing the configuration of the room and having a meaningful idea of how to approach that. Getting like confirmation that like almost nobody's using the center speaker while we mix. Very few people are using the LFE. If so, you're just, you know, hitting it with not much at all. And then just everybody approaches Atmos completely differently, and we're definitely in the wild west as far as mixing.
There's no rules to any of this, and that's something that Kerry was telling me. That when I first started, and because I was asking him the difference between the two programs, and I said, well, so what's right or what's wrong? At that time, minus 23. Just give it to us at minus 23, which was fucking asinine to me, because you're trying to talk to these young kids to listen to a fucking reference mix that's minus 18 or minus 20. At that time, minus 23. Now it's minus 18. Yeah. And the reason why they're doing it's like the reason why they do it minus 18, if you drop it down to binaural, guess what magic number comes up? Minus 14. And that is the rule of thumb right now to get to these guys. That's why they do it at minus 18. Right. They won't come out and say it. They wanted the configuration. It's all mathematics. And I said, go fuck yourself with the mathematics. I'm going to give it to you the way if you're going to come back to me. Like, you should have seen the fucking the Atmos police was on me with the Daniel Caesar record. I said, you got to be fucking shitting me. You got to be shitting. No, it has to be minus 18. You know who's telling me this? A fucking intern that works at Def Jam or Universal. And I'm like thinking, you got to be. No, I'm serious. The people that are doing these Atmos mixes, because I hate to say this, guy, more and more the labels are giving it to the production companies that's in-house to do your Atmos mixes. Hence the reason why they want all the mix stems, because they go through their own little template and they push it out that way. Yep. That's why it sounds like dog shit and ass when you listen to your stuff. The lossless, it's fucking lost, all right, and it's less. They're trying to master. They're trying to master everything at Universal right now. Thank God for Dave Cutts that he's so good at what he does that they're just using him. And we had this discussion. It's absolutely, to me personally, it's sad when, look, I am a musician first. and I know Bob is a musician first. I know Ken's a musician. Nico, I don't know if you play an instrument. Fareed, I don't know if you play an instrument. But the reason why we love what we're doing is like figuring out a guitar chord from fucking Alan Holdsworth, and you're trying to figure that out inside a mixed realm. And but these guys are putting so much barriers. Yeah, it's like I talked to Kerry from Apple about this. He said -18. I said, can we just go over a little bit? -18.
What
Fuck
happens?
that. I'm going over. Fuck that. I'm going over. I'm
What
going over
happens
till
if you
it
go
like
over
collapses.
there? They're gonna
It starts collapsing. It starts collapsing after -16. But by the way,
Okay.
if you have any type of push, and dealing with plugins, guys, I'm going to give you a little bit of tidbit. The Sphinx from Waves is an ultimate tool for us to compete with the mastering.
The
FYI.
Sphinx?
Sphinx, whatever that thing is. The Sphinx, I think it's called. It's a compressor limiter from Waves, and I put that across. I put it actually across either a 772 bus, and that actually gives us the tickle that we need for our bed to make it kind of come close to what the mastering guy does. Really cool fucking, really cool plugin to
add that to your list, Ken.
Just did. But we actually master Atmos here as well. So I mix it, and Jonathan does all the Atmos mastering. But he may find that tool fascinating.
It's going to be great for him. Also, and Bob knows about this company so well. I mean, it's probably you too, Ken, and Fareed, you probably as well. Fab Filter, they're already set up for 7. They're already 7 for. So their EQ, if you want to put that nice little cream across the fucking stereo, the stereo bus. Oh my god, the spread, the bed.
Right.
Sorry, the bed, or even the 714, you can tickle it to match it up, because the problem that I have with Atmos is that you're telling me to give you an Atmos mix, but I haven't heard what the mastering guy did. So my job is to get it colored on my Atmos mix after I mix it, after Dave sends it back to me, so I can I can't EQ it exactly like him, but it comes to a great close.
Gotcha.
And what people don't understand is that Apple is trying to get all your Atmos mixes and not your stereo mixes. I just want to give that out there too.
It's called it's weird. It's Spherics, Waves Spherics.
There you go.
Spherix.
I'm gonna have to try that.
Took me a minute to find, like, all these insects were coming up. When
I call it conolingus.
Crazy.
Or Mr. Esophagus.
Hopefully, listen, with those Atmos mixes you've been putting out, with those Atmos, it better be that, because it makes you feel all sorts of crazy, man.
Dude, when I walked by the Augsburger booth at NAMM and heard Jean Marie's Atmos mixes, holy crap! I wanted to quit.
And it's like, nope, you're not going where you were going. You're coming over here to listen to this right now, literally.
Were you there, Nico? Did you hear
it? Sounded so
I did
good.
the same thing. I was walking by. I was like, holy shit, who is that? And of course, lo and behold, it's Jean Marie.
I got a phone call from I got a phone call from somebody, and they said they said to me, "You played 7 joints." I said, "Yeah, I wanted to show the evolution of my my Atmos thing, because the first one, what we did for the Gran Turismo soundtrack, it was interesting because I just started really getting into it,
right.
and I had to call Dave Way a couple of times a little bit, and I said, "Dave, this is my first one I'm putting out. Tell me what you think." He said, "Holy shit, what the hell are you doing?" I said, "Oh God, I'm in trouble, right?" He said, "Wow, really sounds full. Wow, you got Pro Tools sound good." I said, "No, I'm using Nuendo." He went, "What?" So I tell him, I said, he goes, "How the hell did you do this? How'd you do that?" So it was a great conversational piece from another, like, we talked about studio life.
Dave Way is pretty deep in Atmos too, right?
Oh my God, he's so good at it. We just did a project, but the one thing about that thing at the Atmos, I gave him the Coco Jones mix in Atmos, and then I gave him the artist that I'm working with, that I'm producing, Alexa, and I said, this one was all done in Atmos, not a stereo stem thing. And
Wow.
people actually heard the difference, because there's a certain passion when you're actually have the parts and then monofy it, so you can do that stupid crazy shit. And the
Yeah.
phase canceling does not happen.
Right.
Because if you have stereo stems across every goddamn thing and you're trying to do the whirly bird, it gets lost as a phase canceling, because that's what Atmos is anyway. It's canceling of the speakers, right?
The whirly
So
bird.
with the whirly bird, yeah. And they said, "How did you do that?" I said, "Well, this is a full-on Atmos mix, like if I was mixing a movie." And here's the other thing, guys. It was at minus 14. And the impact and the successions of every percussive instrument and the guitars and the lustness of the background vocals was so much more apparent than where it was at minus 18. And I don't know if it's because we're tickling the frequencies a little bit differently, or it just sounds better at that nominal level. So I feel that minus 14 is where we should be at on all our mixes, because it actually comes closer to a stereo mix.
Right.
Well, the theory behind the minus 18 is when you have Apple Soundcheck on, it takes your stereo that's at minus 7 or minus 9 and reduces it to minus 14, and it takes your Atmos that's at minus 18 and turns it up to minus 14.
That's correct.
When you switch back and forth between your stereo mix and your Atmos mix, they are roughly
The magic number.
Yeah.
The magic number.
But for those that
it's
don't
all
know,
comes
that's
out.
why that's happening.
Yeah, well, see, that's the problem. We didn't have that regulation when we were doing it.
Yeah.
About 10 years ago, we went and made
Dude, they've
the
been
best
changing
sounding,
rules almost all the time.
and that's what I'm doing right now. It's like if Apple says something, we have the right to say, no, we want this out this way. If you listen, I got one for you. Go listen to any of the Rush Atmos mixes.
I have.
Do you see how fucking intense and loud that shit is?
I haven't listened lately. I hope they redid the stuff that I heard, because the one song that I'm thinking of was a disaster. So
Not the one that I'm thinking of. It wasn't Limelight. It wasn't the Limelight. It was another one. It was something like, I think off of Permanent Waves record. I think it was Free Will, and it sounded huge. And in comparison to everybody else's Atmos mixes, everything sounded low. So where you know, there's so much stuff about the Atmos stuff that we can talk about, but it's for naught, because the kids are not going to hear what we're going to hear. And that's my problem.
Car systems are coming and TV soundbars are coming. I don't think it's going to be accessible to street level for years and years. But 5.1 was never accessible to street level,
except for things like the Google glasses and the Apple VR stuff they're going to do.
Yeah, well, that's what I told Tina. That's exactly right. That will work.
And they'll get to start hearing a lot of these songs in Atmos at their theaters as well.
Let's go full circle. Wouldn't it be a good idea to mix more in headphones then?
Oh, you have to make sure that your Atmos mix sounds amazing in headphones.
It depends on what type of headphones too. It's like if you use these, you're in better shape than if you use AKGs. If you're in Pro Tools, if you're in Nuendo, you have the luxury to have the immersive headphones check thing. They have a checklist. So say if Bob has his AKGs on, you go to the AKG settings and it sets up your whole AKG in there. So it's almost like a virtual stereo system. It's actually really, really intense. Bob, you got to get on it, man. Seriously, I'll come by.
Yeah, actually, I have a copy of Nuendo coming.
You should get it you get it for free for 3 months. I actually bought it. I'm actually buying more shit because their shit's ridiculous, especially the metering. Just the metering alone, I would feed it into anything. Just like come out and go into and have like a metering. Their metering is probably the best one next to Decibel, because I like Decibel's metering too.
And I'm like, man, I don't want to get it. You can just throw it on an iPad, or you can throw it on any like iOS device and just have it like a second.
I did a pure mix thing, and it was for the Robin Thicke Look Easy. It just came out. You should go check it out. If anything, I'll send you a link so you don't have to. You know, that'll be something that, that you can listen and say, hey, that's actually, I like that program. The program is fucking tits, man. I mean, the workflow. Ken, you work in Logic, right?
I create in Logic and I mix in Pro Tools.
All right, so do you track in Logic? Like, do you track vocals in Logic?
No. I track vocals.
Have you ever tried?
Yeah, that's why I track in Pro Tools.
I find it totally opposite. I do better in Logic than I do in Pro Tools.
When I track vocals, I treat it very much like a tape machine in that I don't playlist anything. Everything stays on its own track, so I can see every take that I've had in real time, and then I comp everything relentlessly. And I spend a shit ton of time on vocals, and I can't do it in Logic.
I did do it. So I was producing this artist, and she was. We were doing 2 songs, and the first day we did it in Pro Tools, and the second day she chose another song, but it was still in Logic. I said, "Fuck it, let me do it in Logic." And I was at Playback Studios, and the engineer was looking at me, he's like saying, "Bro, you're fucking daring." We did the vocals quicker because it felt like a tape machine for me, Ken, because everything was there, because all the comps I was punching in, and it was there. So I don't do track by track. I'm old school.
I don't punch.
I punch.
I record, send them away, and comp like crazy.
Oh,
no, I can't do that shit.
And resing if they need to.
My tolerance level is through the. Yeah, it's fucking. I can't do that shit. It's I just, you know what? It's not about the money. It's about my insanity, because I'll be fucking nitpicking for days. It's like when I do guitar tones now. It's like how we used to do it. You got a pedal, you got a delay on it. There's no plug-in.
Dude, yeah, most of my guitars are straight in and amp sims. That you just get so many choices so quickly creatively that even if you could have dialed in a better sound using a real amplifier, you're probably going to dial in a more creative sound using the amp sim, because you get 60 choices in 60 seconds.
I agree.
6 in 6 minutes.
Man, that UAD aux is amazing. And either you guys use that thing?
Not yet, but
no. What is that?
It's a cabinet simulator, and it's the best one I've ever heard.
It's the
but
load
you
box.
put a real amp.
Box. Yeah,
it's a load box, but you put a real amp going into UAD aux, and I mean, big rock producers are no longer miking up guitar amps.
So I can use
crazy how good
I can use my amp head into this thing.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. It's cheap too.
It has an app that runs in the background, and it's got, 2 different mics. You can have a condenser, a ribbon, or a 57, and a Royer, and then it's got a room mic.
Hey Bob, have you checked out the diesel simulation in UAD or in Plugin Alliance?
Yeah,
because I had a diesel VH4. I had it. So it's awesome. So check it out. So I'm doing a guitar session at the Casa, right? And one of my buddies said, "Hey, why don't you pull out your diesel?" I said, "Okay, no problem." I pulled up the plug-in. He goes, "You're not going to make it sound like that." So true to form, I used that line, like if it was a mic line. I used the amp, and then I started using the distressor or the arouser. Holy shit, the harmonics that comes out. And they said, the only thing I miss, guys, the only fucking thing I miss is the air. If there was an air plug-in that gives us that concussiveness that we miss from it, that is what I miss. But in the simulation, you could change those goddamn microphones, which is great. Like, having a Royer and a 57, right, and then putting an 87 about 3 feet back to get that space, that concussive sound. You can do it, but I would love to put like different compressors on those different mics. I'm such a weirdo when it comes to that shit. But the aux is fucking dope. Yeah, I got to talk to Fab and see if I can get one.
I'm going to check that out. Yeah, the Neural DSP amp sims are some of my favorites lately. Those things are...
Which one's that?
Neural DSP. They make, I think
a lot of people like
is my favorite for kind of clean and semi-broken up, and all of them are great for heavier stuff. It's like really
nice. What about you think about
I
these,
just
these
tried
guys,
them
STL?
out.
Anybody?
I haven't tried the guitar stuff yet, which I heard sounds amazing. But Lou Diaz just hooked me up with his pack. He just came out with a pack. Yeah,
Is that
and
Yes.
it's
the one
pretty
he was talking
fire,
about?
man.
Okay.
I just like that. You know, it's like it's like a big channel strip with you know, you got a transient designer in there, you got a de-esser in there, um, and there's like a tape knob, there's like a tube knob, there's a drive knob, so you can get some cool color out of that thing.
Now, are you looking at the EQ too? Because I got really interested in Chris Lord
Right,
Alge, not Chris Lord,
right.
Tom Lord Alge was pushing it, and I said, let me check this
Yeah.
shit out.
We've
Actually,
been
I
talking
was
about that.
pleasantly surprised. I was pleasantly surprised with that. It's actually not a bad company. I was talking to Dave Kutch about how he likes that company. There's so many great companies that we have out right now. Actually, I'm doing something right now that you guys might be into. Um, the
Wow.
Magma Spring Reverb from Waves.
Yes, please. Anything spring
That
reverb,
thing,
I'm in.
that thing, Bobo, you're gonna like this one, buddy. Ken, you're gonna love it, especially
You
when
had
it
me at
comes down to the
spring.
California. Dude, how about this one? 50s, British, classic, California, heavy and dark space settings for a spring reverb.
I'm
What?
in. I'm in. I
Yes,
can check that
that
out.
that
Oh,
shit, that shit. I put that across my roads last night. I was actually doing some production, and I was playing with the roads. And have you guys ever fucked with the Waves instruments,
Not really.
not too
Not really.
much. Talk to me.
dude? Dude, it's fucking amazing. Their Wurlitzer sounds amazing. You gotta
Wow.
Really?
mess with it.
Better than keyscapes?
Different, different,
Different.
different. But I think you might like it. There it is. Now we're talking, Kenny. Now we're talking.
Well, since we're
Pick that
talking
shit up.
guitars, I got to tell
Yes.
you guys what I'm doing on next Wednesday's mixing night, which by the time this show airs might be in Restream. But the Wednesday, June 7th, 2023 mixing night show, I am going to recreate live my guitar part from Kanye West All Falls Down from his first record. And I just did an interview with Brandon Shaw, who runs a website called Digging the Greats, and that interview blew up on YouTube, and
For
then I
sure.
was like, well, let me just do it live.
Wow.
So I'm gonna
Dude, that's
recreate the
fucking
part.
awesome. Send me, Kenny, send me a link, buddy.
I definitely will. Maybe we'll post it up here. But same guitar, same microphone. I'm gonna RX. We were talking about that RX. I'm gonna RX and remove my original guitars, leave everything
No
else in,
way,
replay them
dude.
live, and then drop them in, and just AB.
Nice.
No.
And
That is sexy.
I think next month I'm going to do a throwback for Usher. I play guitar on that as well. So this might be a thing if I can pull them together good enough. We'll see. Or I might just
You know,
botch it horribly. It's entirely possible.
do you think, Ken, if I do one by playing with myself, do you think I get some streams off of that?
Whoa, whoa.
This is what the hand's used for. It's not for EQing. It's for knobbing. It's for knobbing. Ken, I am gonna be the first person to fucking watch that shit.
Awesome. It's such a fun time on mixing
Nico,
night.
this ain't like Pasato's place, right? Where I have to watch my P's and Q's.
Oh no, I
Bro,
curse like a
anything
sailor on
goes,
mixing
dude.
night. There's no holds
Yeah,
barred. I describe
anything
mixing night as
goes.
like Howard Stern for studio folks, not like a classroom or education. It's like a 2-hour escape with people that love doing the same kind of shit that I love doing, and just being in the studio. And the chat roll is great. The community we've built is great. It's just such a fantastic time. So it's become the thing that we didn't know that we needed, and now we just keep it going. So Wednesday.
I got a question. I got a question to ask for Bobo. Bob,
Yeah.
we were talking about using fab filter in the stereo bus field, and I tried to explain that to somebody, and they thought that we were on fucking crack cocaine. Would you please affirm our beliefs about even just putting it on as an instant? Can you please tell these fucking kids and some of us old farts that don't want to fucking listen to us that it does make a fucking difference? Because honestly, to try to explain that to somebody is asking somebody to fucking run into a brick wall.
Well, are you talking about the Saturn trick?
Yes, because
Okay.
I do it often, and you're the only other
Yeah.
person that fucking does it.
Okay. So different plugins have code written separately for when it's bypassed, when it's not bypassed, and then the delay compensation comes into play as well. And in certain companies, you'll notice that when you bypass a plugin to A/B what you're doing, all of a sudden the delay compensation can get fucked up or the sound will change. And the fact is, they're not writing the code identical for when it's bypassed and when it's not bypassed. So here's the thing that happened with FabFilter Saturn 1. It has to be Saturn 1, not Saturn 2.
We lost you, young
They
Bob.
wrote the what's that?
We lost you, Bob. Say it one more time.
Start with Saturn 1.
So yeah, the thing that happened with Saturn 1, only Saturn 1, Saturn 2, this trick doesn't work. But the high quality button, which is oversampling, they wrote that code to where you still hear the process in bypass. So you can put that on a track, keep it bypassed, and put the high quality button on, and you're not getting any saturation or distortion, but you get this oversampling, and it causes this density change in the mid range.
I wish
it just kind of shifts the mid range
from acoustic.
So
yeah,
so
they don't.
one...
They don't though. That's the thing. That's why me and Bob were so on point. When I said Saturn's, Bob's face. I remember this, Bob, when we had that thing at your place with the speakers, that the little things, and I said, yes, I use Saturn, and you turned around from your seat, you went like, oh my God, a fellow feathered friend, because people don't realize that not all plugins act the same. Not and the but the juiciness of it is what Bob's explaining. And Ken, try this on your next mix. Put the motherfucker across your bus.
I know what's going to happen because the oversampling on the Pro L2 kind of has that same effect. It just opens shit up.
Yeah.
But there's something about that company, and I don't know if you guys fuck with their reverb. It's fucking, it's crazy.
The Pro R,
but
super.
But
good.
a lot of people, like my go-to reverb right now, and listen, I'm not jumping on everybody's fucking bandwagon, but I really like the Stephen Slate classic reverb.
The Verb
Suite? I love that. The Verb Suite to me is like one of the better. Yeah, well, a lot of people like to shit on him because he's like Joey Hollywood. I just love the fucking dude. I never met him, but I think he's just hilarious.
We had him on the show. He was great.
Yeah.
You guys got to check out the Arturia LX24. It's the Lexicon 224.
I'm going to check it out.
And that thing, that thing sounds so good. And if you ever used the Lexicon 480 or 224, as soon as you hear that first preset, you'll have that mind, like that, just that it just harkens back to that era, and it sounds. They did such a good job, as well as it has really cool like ducking features and modern stuff going on.
However, they're emulating their plugins and software. I like because their keyboard and their instrument stuff sounds amazing too.
Yeah.
Not
absolutely.
Sure.
Absolutely. Fareed, you're absolutely right. Yeah, especially with the Roland Jupiter stuff and stuff like that. That thing. Yeah. And Nico, get closer to the microphone.
Just this weekend, I was in a writing camp, and it was like, "Do you have a Prophet?" I was like, "Yep, right here, Arturia." Do you have a, And it was even like to the point where I was like,
"Nice.
Does Arturia have guitars?" I'm like Googling it to see which pack I need to like go get, because it was just on point every time.
That's a French company, right? Arturia, is that a French company?
Yeah, I think so.
Goddamn
so
frogs.
on the plugin joint, by the way, I wanted to touch one more. We've touched it before, but Stage 1 by Leapwing, they've got that joint. So it's a widener plugin or whatever, MS, whatever you want to call it. But when it's in bypass, it still does some widening. So I want you guys to try that and see what you think about it. I use it a lot of times. A lot of times it's too much for what I'm doing, or a lot of times I'll put it before or after, like some of the Brainworks, V widening stuff. And sometimes it just gets really wonky. but sometimes it fits, and sometimes just in bypasses, like just enough to open it up,
Right.
but not make it obvious.
What's
So definitely try
stage
that
one
out.
and center? They have a plugin called center too,
Stage
right?
one.
Yep, they do.
What's that isotope plugin that's basically got the meter and you can do presets? It shows the low, mid, and high.
Insight?
You guys know which one I'm talking about?
Is it Insight?
I think it's
Bob, we lost Bob again.
Oh,
Bob,
you guys know that plugin it's a meter, but it shows the spectrum
I think it's
by
Insight.
isotope.
I think it's Insight.
No, not Insight, but
is it the
it's
one
a
where you
different
can
one.
like
I don't know
compress
that one.
evenly? It's like the reference thing.
You can control other
I think
plugins
it's
from
called
this
like
plugin.
tonal
Wow.
balance
So like,
control or something like that.
yeah, tonal balance. So tonal balance darkens, if you put it on your master fader, just the sound of that meter darkens your mix.
No shit.
And because I used to leave it on my mix, and then one day I inactivated it, all of a sudden my mix was brighter. So now if I need to darken something, sometimes I'll just throw that on there, and it just does
if we're
something.
gonna get really nitpicky, so do we? I don't know how many of y'all use Metric AB, the AB plugin or whatever. But that's always on my master plugin alliance Metric.
When I'm down in Ecuador, I do.
So that's always on my master, and I print through it because I print longhand. So that adds, to me, in my opinion, that adds like 0.05 dB of top end. And it's just
Really?
something that I noticed. It's just a little hair brighter, just like I'm talking the smallest bit.
Yeah,
If
I
you
never
mix
knew
through
that. So it just by keeping
plugins
it
have
in there.
sounds.
Just,
I mean,
just,
if you
just
mix
leaving it
through
in
it,
there.
you compensate for that because you hear what you hear, and that's what you print, so it doesn't matter. That's my theory.
Well, I do that in Pro Tools. I have to do that in Pro Tools because in Pro Tools, I've also learned that if I do it like I go in and out, it's not the same for some odd reason. It's like the reference mix that I have, like I put it onto an adjoining channel, right? And I put the input in, so it's like I'm going into a tape deck, like input and output, input and output. But when I go through the Matrix AB from Plugin Alliance, I find I get closer to the nominal point. So do you think that's what it is? It's that it gives us that point something of headroom, that top end?
I don't know. I don't know what in that fact, because
The stuff is all such
you would be
voodoo.
like you would be referencing both with that same little bit of top end extra. So it's like,
well,
I'll give you guys another one. If UAD has a plugin and Plugin Alliance have the same plugin, they sound different.
They do.
Try it on the Mog EQ.
Oh
Plugin
my
Alliance
gosh.
versus UAD. They sound completely different.
The UAD sounds darker, right? Well, it's darker. UAD sounds darker.
Is that what?
To me, UAD sounds a little flubbier. In Plugin Alliance, which I lean towards, if I have it, it just opens up. It opens everything up. So if I put it across, like, say, for instance, background vocals, and I did the goddamn test, Bob, and I thought I was the only fucking person that was losing my goddamn mind. It's just like listening to, like, it just gets closed in and cloudier. Just like the best sounding, to me, for me, my opinion, the best sounding Pultec EQ is from fucking Apogee.
wow.
Apogee has the best one. And I was talking to Bob Clearmountain about it. It is the closest thing. And I talked to Dexter about it, and he was ranting and raving about it. He's like, Jean, that's the best one. And obviously, Softtube has, like, I used to have Tube Tech, the PE one, whatever that thing is fucking called. Yeah, because it had that 1.5. Because no one made a Lang except for Antelope. Because I used to love Lang EQs.
Oh, I have one.
I fucking love them.
I love that thing.
You have a real one.
I have a real PE1C. Yeah, they're amazing.
Yeah.
So Heritage Audio is making the Lang again.
Really?
The real analog.
Really?
Yeah. I don't know how much it is, but it just came out.
Right, the modules.
I'm actually going on eBay and everywhere, and fuck Reverb. Reverb's like gonna. If I bend over, I'm gonna get popped in the pooper. I swear to God, I'm gonna like, dude, they're charging like almost $5,000-$6,000 for one Lang. It is that.
Reverb, people on Reverb think they're like
mine.
Sweetwater Vintage King or something.
That's
That
great.
Say
people on
again,
Reverb
Nico?
think that they're Sweetwater or Vintage King or something. Like, it's like, dude, no, like, it's in your garage. What are you trying to
No,
sell
man.
me? Like,
No. Well, I will never ever sell anything at Reverb. They fucking raked me over the coals when I was trying to get rid of the
dude,
carbon. They charged me for so
yeah,
much. As a buyer,
right.
you win, but as a seller,
I
you
agree.
fucking lose. I lost
Mm.
like almost $800 off of that shit. I'd rather just give it to someone like Joe Topia in West LA and just get the bet because I don't want to fuck
Right,
anybody. I really don't. I don't
right.
want to do
Hey,
that.
hey, speaking of Mixbus plugins, the next
Mm.
mixing night is our Mixbus night. Drop us some what are some of your very favorites that you guys use across the Mixbus?
Oh, you should
Oh
call,
boy.
dude. Seriously, I'm gonna send you the thing from. You're gonna see what I do. You're gonna love it.
Awesome.
It's totally fucking. I'm a fucking wackadoo. I'm
Well,
just a bit of a
that
wackadoo.
we all know.
Yeah,
We've heard the word.
I'm right
Well,
there with you.
well, they got me off the straitjacket.
Finally.
All right, anybody
Bob
else?
go?
Drop
Oh,
us some gems, guys.
Bob has a potty break going on.
Yeah, we lost Fareed for a second. I hope
Um,
he'll come back on.
hey,
Where'd everybody go?
Yeah.
so Nico, how you been,
Good.
man? We talk about plugins and shit like that, and it's so fucking great to see Ken. I haven't seen Ken
Dude,
in
it's been a
what
long
10
fucking
years almost.
time. It's been a long time.
I really miss you guys. Me and Nico go way back. I think was it the second or the third Pensado's
Yeah.
place? Was it that?
Yeah. That was
That was
crazy.
fun. That was actually fun. But as for mixed buses, do me a favor, Ken and Nico, and if Farid's back there or not, try some Nomad Factory
Ooh.
plugins. You'll be pleasantly surprised.
Huh.
It is a gem in the rough.
Yeah, Birdie Round the Way.
I've tried some of their stuff previously, but there are so many choices.
There is way
Birdie
too
Round
many
the
choices.
Way, something about their tube saturation stuff. Something or another around there. I never got around to it, but it's been steeping and brewing in the back of my mind.
I will tell you
guys
right now, not keeping you out of this, Nico, but I will tell you right now, Ken is going to have a happy ending. That's all I'm going to say. Because of the one factor that Nico says, the tube emulation is ridiculous.
And this is the Nomad.
You guys have me.
stuff.
My internet.
This is all the Nomad Factory stuff. Anything that says the BT
Right.
stuff, which is British
That was
tube.
it.
It's like Teddy Riley turned me on to it when we were doing that Michael record. And that's when we started working in Studio One, which I kind of did not like at the time. It was version 1. And he turned me on to this plugin that looked massive. The GUI was ridiculous. God rest his soul, the guy who started it. But the problem with that plugin company is their infrastructure is weird. They don't. Their hierarchy to update themselves is really wacky, but is very effective. Their ASR plugins, which is basically, if you take a look at what STL did, they're the first persons that do that. You can actually move the plugins within their instant. So basically, so the modules move around. So you could put it before or after. So they have a solid state EQ. They have a tube EQ, which emulates either an SSL and a Pultec-ish. They have a gate. They have all the stuff. They have saturation. Then they have a master section, all in one plugin for that one particular channel. It is absolutely insane. It is absolutely amazing. Their 80s reverbs, a la PCM 70s, PCM 80s, those PCM tones really stand out if you're going for that nostalgic sound. I tone chase, my era right now that I'm tone chasing is, I actually moved it up 5 years. It's from 1975 till about I'll give it a more, like, until about 1983, 1984. There's a certain sound that I was listening to. Do you remember the Tubes, guys? I mean, I know Ken does. If you listen to the Tubes record, because I was on the, listen to some of those tones that Steve Lukather and Umberto Gatica that they pulled off.
Dude, that album sounds massive.
Exactly. So that's the tone that I'm listening to
Yeah.
right now, because I think we're missing a mark. Everybody's trying to do the hip hop stuff and all the trap stuff, all the pop stuff. But there's such genres that Ken is tapping into, that I'm trying to tap into, is getting back to the roots. Today's hip hop is rock music. That's today's hip hop, because it's untapped and
This is
nobody wants to
true.
touch it.
And
And
country.
if you go, and country. Well, if you know the Little Dirk shit, he has Morgan Wallen on one of the songs, and it sounds fucking amazing up until Little Dirk comes walking in. It sounded great. So it's on the new Little Dirk record. But listening to like certain mixers and mixes now, there's no boutique vibe. Like you don't have you can't put an imprint. You can't put a Bob or Fareed or Nico or Ken Lewis thumbprint anymore. It's like we just want it to sound the way it is. And then you listen to like the new Rival Sons record, it's fucking massive. And if you listen to Dirty Honey, it's fucking massive, because there's nobody saying you can't do that. Where right here, everybody's trying to say we want it to sound like X, Y, and Z. That's why I fell in love with the new Daniel Caesar record, because it partitioned way away from what he normally does. And it was amazing. And I only did the Atmos mixes. And who's that kid that mixes out of Electric Lady?
Nick.
Tom Elmhurst. Tom Elmhurst did the mixes, and he did a great job. It wasn't thumpy, thumpy, thumpy. It was actually fluid. It felt like a record. And I think a lot of times, like, because I have a 13-year-old daughter and a 21-year-old kid, they're listening to stuff that we actually are going back to listen to.
Man.
Like,
and rock music just licenses so well if you can get in that licensing lane. Because I produced a project for Des Rocks back in 2018 to 2020. His first two EPs, Let the Vultures In and Martyr Parade, and we still license those projects like crazy. Wow. They still stream well. It's a regular income source. It is, man, if you can tap into that.
All right, let's hear it, boys. Favorite. We already did a little bit. Favorite amp sims, favorite guitar plugins, favorite whatever stuff that the kids can get their hands on. What's your favorite guitar plugins? Let's go. I'll start.
Bob, you go first, or can you go first?
I'll start with one that most of y'all probably won't touch. So this is my go-to, though. I usually don't even use many other. I learned this from Dave. Scuff'em S Gear. I think we may have even got that from Bob, to be honest. But Scuff'em S Gear is like my go-to. I think we talked about that before. It used to, not anymore. Now you got to get that, cough up that 99 on the side.
So I'm going to tell you the guitar to get. If you're a session player, check out the Variax. I guess Variax is the company, or maybe Variax is the guitar. Just Google Variax. And I've played a Variax since like the early 2000s. It gives you 50 different tone choices at your fingertips. You have no latency in playing. There's no amp hum when you plug it into an amp or into a DI. There is zero amp hum. It tracks perfectly. It'll do drop tunings with a flick of a switch. So if you have it perfectly tuned to regular guitar tuning and you hit a switch, now it's in drop D. Hit another switch, now it's in drop G, or now it's in like open G. It's open D tunings. All of these different open tunings, and they track perfectly. So and it'll do sitar, banjo, all of this shit. So from a creative standpoint, with guitar, that is the get it at the source first, and then let the amplifier enhance.
All right, Earl Scruggs, let him know. Gee, that's crazy. So it's called a Variax guitar, and it's like one specific company, one model.
It's a modeling guitar.
Oh, I gotta get that.
It's
now.
a guitar that models like
man.
50 different types of guitars, like Les Pauls. Dude, I used it on the first College Dropout record, and
Is that line 6?
yes,
Yeah, I used to have one of those.
for a
Great
studio, it's amazing.
Bobber man, we got a little bit
Yeah.
of echo
Yeah.
on you, Bob. Can we turn
Really?
down? Yeah,
How about
we're
now?
good now. A little less, but we can work with it.
Okay.
It's some about how you logged off and on, and your echo cancellation BS is turned off, and I can't turn it on while it's recording. So either just turn your
Oh, is it okay now?
it's there in the background. Just turn the monitors down
Check
a hair
1 2.
more, and we'll be fine. Yep.
Check
That's
check
cool.
check.
Yep. 10 points. Killing the game. Back in business. All right. Who's next? Give us some sauce, baby. That guitar sauce.
Okay, so if we're tracking, and if I need to use an amp simulation, I've been using the generic stuff because a lot of people, have it, and if I give them like a certain thing that they need to go back to the house and just do a little quick thing, I've been using a lot of plug-in alliance or UAD stuff, and I'll tell you why. I haven't found, and maybe you guys can help me out with this. I am a big Fender Deluxe type person for certain sounds, but the truest clean tone that I like is what we used to do back in the day, is going direct and using the console simulation. So whether it be like an SSL or an Eve, that's one. If I'm tracking acoustic, I like to mess around because a lot of people don't realize that we don't really need a console anymore. So the console emulation going into, like, say, the best box that I have right now is probably the Apogee, because it gives me the most purest tone that I can get from my ears. And with that, I use an API like I normally used to do when I was cutting, to get that warmth or that simulation of warmth. But as it pertains to like wah-wahs and different stuff like that, I'm a traditionalist, man. I need that direct tone, because if we don't have amps, you can still go directly into it to get this tone. So I've been using the Slate MS1 as my go-to in, and it's fucking incredible without using any simulation. That's even using the goddamn microphone. Have you messed with that
That's
fucking
insane,
microphone,
that.
bro? With no simulation, it sounds better than the goddamn fake
true.
simulations that they're doing, which is no knock on them. I just don't like it. If I want to fucking have you, the best thing I've ever heard was a U67 going into a UAD twin, the Apollo twin, and it sounded amazing. My jaw dropped, and it was Nika Costa's father's microphone that Paul Foley had, and I was like, oh my god, this sounds amazing. I went into my 1081. I went like this. What the fuck? We're a brave new world.
Oh yeah,
we're brave new world, guys. It's like, so I think the best plug-in I could say is my left and right ears.
Right.
And then listening to other people and trying to do what we used to do back in the day. Hey man, did you try this? Did you try this? Actually, I was listening to Nuno Betancourt on Rick Beato, and he talked about a free plugin that was like an MXR phaser flanger. Dr. Phase is one of my favorite fucking things right now.
Wow.
And it's for free. And I forgot the name of the company. You can go up there and just, it'll come up, called Dr. Phase. It's for free. It's for free. But I kind of like the repeater from it's like, it reminds me of the DMX, even though I like the UAD DMX, but that's like my go-to thing to get that Michael Thompson that 80s sound that me and Ken were just talking about a few minutes ago, for like the tubes type of shit. I love that thing for that, but not just for, that's it, Fareed, tone control. It just gives it a certain sound. And I think we go back to what Bob was saying. What Baba was saying is that every plugin has a color. Every plugin has a nuance. And it's like, you know what? I do miss the old days of being in the studio and jerking around. But we kind of getting into that point where we are in the age of like, this is the new, you know, it's like people are saying we need more analog gear. No one really gives a shit about the analog gear. It's about what we can do with the stuff now. I had a conversation with somebody. They said, well, John, you should use all your analog gear. You should get this, you should get that. I said, if Paul McCartney, which he's still around, God bless his heart, I think he's like 80 some odd years old. He fucking uses all plugins. He's not using analog gear anymore.
Even
So
the five of us could spend 5 days in a row, one at a time, in the same exact studio on the same gear, mixing the exact same record, and we are going to all produce 5 completely different mixes. And
and that's what I tell people. The best plugins that you have is your left and right ear.
100%.
Because everybody asks me, goes, how the hell do you mix on cubes? And I explained my religion to it, my philosophy and my religion to it, and they finally get it. Actually, I talked to Larry Witt last night. He finally plugged in his CK cubes. He said, holy shit, are you kidding me? I said, what? I said, oh, I probably fucked them up. And he said, dude, I hear all my thoughts. He goes, why is that? I said, because you're dealing with paper cones. You're not dealing with polypropylene cones. There's nothing wrong with PMC's thing. I just don't like it because it gets a color. And there's a threshold in there that starts compressing a certain frequency. Call me fucking kooky, I can hear it. You know, I don't have perfect pitch. I have relative pitch, and I can hear weird shit going on.
You're right. You ain't wrong.
And he goes like this. He said, well, he asked for my Yamahas if he can borrow them. I said, go ahead, use them. You'll hear the difference between that. And he did. He was like, the whole width changed. It went from here. And then when you mixed it, it went out here. And then you went back to the PCMs and it went even wider. He said, yeah. I said, why is that? I said, because they constrict certain frequencies. Like I went to listen to an Atmos mix that just for the record.
Wow.
I had to leave. The studio looks beautiful, but I just couldn't hear. I just couldn't hear my Atmos mixes. It sounded like it was very sterile. It was very flaccid. You know, it was very limp. It didn't have the longevity. The best Atmos mix I've ever heard, speaker-wise, and I can't afford it, and if we put our money together, we still couldn't afford it. That setup that he had at that booth that Dave Malkapour had, oh my God.
Yeah.
That
165 grand.
Yeah.
Bob, you need to talk to that fucker and put it into your room and use that as a listening suite, because I will tell you right now, it will fuck you up. He has that shit down to a science. Even those little mini ones, the little NS10 looking ones, they sound amazing.
Yeah, he knows what he's doing for sure.
I'd rather buy that than buy those PCMs. A lot of people don't like Dave because they don't like Dave. I love Dave because he's been at this thing for over 35 fucking years. I've known him since I was working in New York. He made high house fucking power amps, and they sounded great.
Yeah,
until they didn't.
Mm-hmm.
Until they fucking failed. You know? But that shit happens.
No, he's been making good gear, and he's been helping us make good records for a long time. You can't knock that.
Dave Pensado was talking to me because he said, "Hey JM, you should talk to Dave." I said, "No, he ain't gonna fucking make me something." He came to my room. He looked at my room. A year later, he put out those fucking things. He said, "These are yours."
Wow.
This is and Rich Keller bought the same one. He said, "Bro, I was nervous to buy it." I said, "So was I." I dropped fucking 18 grand on those goddamn things, but it sound amazing. You go to Bob's room, it's it's like beautiful, man. It was singing. I tell you, Bob, your room sounded a little bit better than Dave's room, and I don't know because I don't know what was going on.
They modeled Dave's room off of my room, and they changed a couple things that they shouldn't have changed.
Bro, I'll tell you right now. If no one's ever been in Bob's room, please go and pay for your admission, like going to like amusement park, because you sit dead metal. I was so
exactly what it is.
Pleasantly humbled to be in your room. I really was. But to experience the vibe in that room, I said, this sounds great. It sounded like my room at North Hollywood. There's not a lot of bells and whistles. There's not a lot of tricks up your sleeve. And what you hear is what you get. and I heard it on both sets of speakers, which was fascinating. Which I have to go down there and buy you some lunch and hang out with you for a while, Bobo. But I'm such a fucking dad right now.
That's
I'm Mr.
great, man.
Mom. My wife got a gig amongst this whole writer strike shit. She booked a play, so that means that she has the ability to tell me to go fucking do what I got to do in that house. She got used to me being here, by the way, guys. Like, building the studio in the house was a blessing and a curse.
I'm doing it right now.
Me too.
It's a blessing it's a blessing and a curse. But it's so much. Yeah, you know, yes. But it's a curse when your fucking daughter's saying, "Oh my God, can you please tell her to stop singing because it's so bad." Oh my daughter's the perfect A&R person. She said, "Oh, this is just terrible." Funny. Absolutely, God. When we did the Willow record, unfiltered. When we did the Willow record, she was like saying, "That's great. That sounds like Willow." I said, "Because it is," and her face dropped. You know, just to see that magic that we used to see when we first got the Back in Black record, or the
first
you know
one
what I'm saying,
bought.
or the Janet Jackson Rhythm Nation record, where we're like, what the fuck? Yeah. That excitement, that joy. You know, I really miss one thing: opening up an album cover, opening up and see, like, I wish that the GUIs were a little bit better. I mean, it's great that Tidal has our credits and shit like that, which Apple doesn't.
Yeah, music is just absorbed differently now, unfortunately.
Unfortunately, it is. But you know what? Vinyl sales have been going
fire.
Yeah, people want merch. You know, people want merch. People want something to feel. At least a T-shirt, and artists also want a better way to connect and sell to their fans, right? It's like, we're not like, I think we've already kind of beat this over the head. We're not going to get rich off streaming, so we need to find other ways to do that. And vinyl, I mean, I think vinyl is getting really cool. You can make clear vinyl, you can do tie-dye color vinyl. I think that's really cool. That's definitely, it was a hipster thing, but now it's coming back. So that merch, I think, is really cool.
Well, I will say this about streaming, though. I think streaming has been the main driver for the fact that probably right now on planet Earth, more people survive solely on music income as a living than have probably ever happened in the history. And most of that is because you can find your little niche of fans and grow your niche. And outside of your niche, nobody knows who the hell you are. But within your niche, you've got a big enough fan base that you can eat and you can live a nice middle class life and you can pay your bills and make more music and grow that fan base. And a few of you are going to grow it into something massive. And the internet, that's been the great equalizer for a lot of artists. But I think the flip side of that is most artists think, oh, well, I just got to put my song on the internet and then I'm going to be famous. And that is not at all how it happens.
No, not even close. Not even close.
All out.
Right.
You know, the thing that I was trying to talk to my young artist, and she's incredible, and she has a lane that she hasn't even tapped into yet, because she is absolutely fucking flat out gorgeous. That's hands down. She models, but she dabbles in music, where she said, I want to be an artist, and you have to go all in. But here's the thing: she's a fucking ex-pro surfer. That's an industry that she can make money on. But here's the problem, guys. They got caught up into, like, I call it the cream magazine world. If us old folks know what that is, they get caught up in the social lifestyle rather than it's only a facade. Then you have to build off that facade. She thinks that people, like what we see on Instagram, they're rich. They're not.
They're rented cars and rented houses.
They're faking all that
just for the music video.
I learned that when I was working with Exhibit. When Exhibit was doing his first video, he had this Rolex watch. He said, "Yeah, I got to send this back." He goes, "Why? What's going on?" And I really wanted to ask him, because he got it, because Dr. Dre talked to him. He said, "Don't buy it. Rent it out. Why would you want to go to spend $150,000 on a fucking simple Rolex watch that you're never going to use except for on the video? Get yourself a good watch that you know it's going to, if you want to wear a wristwatch." But Exhibit, I don't think you're really wearing a wristwatch. And he said, you're right. So when he was doing the video, Dr. Dre really educated a lot of these guys. He did it with King T. And the only person that I heard talk like that was Barry Hankerson to us when we were down at Virginia Beach when we were doing the Blackstreet record. At that time, he was actually going to be managing Teddy. And we were doing the Blackstreet record, and he was trying to educate these guys because they're spending too much on frivolous things. He said, man, Teddy, don't buy it. Let the dealership give you that thing. I'll hook it up. Teddy, in one day, got a Ferrari, got a Lexus, got the BMW 500,
Wow.
all on gratis. Because he was in Virginia Beach, and at that time, Virginia Beach was growing. He drove those cars for free for 4 years. 4 years. Every week, they washed it. Ask me how much he was paying.
Oh, nice.
Because of a manager understanding the value of the artist. I don't think artists understand their own value. That is my biggest problem. Sure. I think some of these managers are charlatans and herald off of their best interest, artist's best interest, but not looking at the best interest for the artist. And I think that there's a major problem. And I think when Ken was saying that there's a niche and you don't have to be the biggest person to do it, I think Ray Shrimmer has started to do that a little bit more so right now. I know there are records coming out, and fortunately enough, I did work on that. I did produce that. Hey. But the money, that if this was 2005, I would probably be living somewhere else. But the value of the streaming money was not the same as the value of the money that we would have gotten off of a top 28 song, pop song. A top 28 pop song, if you even had like 5%, would have put you in the $1 million register. You don't get that anymore on streaming. So the only thing that I get these young guys saying, well, I want to put my name as a call thing, like a tag before the mix starts, before the song even starts. I mean, why would you want to do that? Well, they got to know who I am. I said, dude, you don't need to do that. All this tag shit does not mean anything, but it does to them because of the social media. And it's like, to be honest with you, on the Ray Sherman song, Marley Marl came up to me and goes, all right, where's your tag going to go? I said, it's right there. It's in there. Because where is it? I said, right after Marley Marl and right between ear whatever that ear drummer shit, whatever that little space is my tag. I don't need a tag. The only tag I want is when you tag me with that fucking check saying Jean Marie Horvat, G Sosa Music. I'm with that. And but the fact is, Marley Marl goes this. He says, "You're really an OG." I said, "I hated it," and even Teddy did it. Teddy did it because Teddy did it first when he did Yup Yup, because he did it as an ad lib, and then Diddy did it because he wanted to be an accompaniment. Right. All the DJs started doing it because they wanted you to go to their shows. These kids are doing it because they want to be recognized.
I mean, they're getting work.
And that's all it is.
You
it's just
hear
recognition.
like, day trip. Look at the tag.
Not
and you're
really.
like, oh, that's Day Trip's beat. You're like,
it's really just a difference in social approach nowadays. Because, like, I have virtually zero pictures of me and anybody I ever was in the studio with, almost ever, because for us, the studio was their sanctuary. If Jay, Kanye, or B was in the studio, you didn't ask for pictures. You let them be in their space. That was their zone. And so now it seems like totally the other way around. I see everybody, taking. If you ever saw me in a picture with somebody else took it and pulled me in. Right. That was. Now it's a different world.
Yeah.
The only time I think we see each other in pictures is when we do those NAMM events, when we see our collectors, our community.
Outside
but
of
I've
the
never,
studio.
I never asked Beyonce for a picture. Never asked fucking Michael Jackson for a picture. Never wanted to.
No.
Never wanted to. Because you know what?
The picture's here.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, I tell people, I said, I am lamented in time. And that is a privilege that I will never take for granted. And a lot of people are saying they want to be the man. You know what my biggest wealth is and my biggest success is? That I'm still around. That's why I tell people I'm still
Hear,
fucking
hear.
around. You know what I'm saying? It's like, you know, everybody, like all the younger guys that are getting involved, and I'm talking about the ones that are like 20 and between 20 and 25. They want to be producers, but they don't know how to produce a track. It's not by going to Splice. I was doing a track for Mike Jackson the other day, for this kid named London. And it took me 2 weeks to get the track right because I was actually doing a track, not a vibe or that simple shit. I actually reconstructed the track. And when we did, he's like, we can't stand the vocals. All of a sudden, I send him back the track. Goes, when did you redo the vocals? I said, we didn't. We worked the track around the vocals. All those guitars after the first after the first bar 8 have been redone. The music has been redone. I had a real drummer come in. Holy shit, that changes the track. Exactly.
That's production.
The art, that's production. That's something that Ken does. That's something that Bob does. Fareed, I didn't know your production yet, so I can't speak upon you. But that art of actually sitting down and actually doing a record has been lost. And I think that is our conduit to get back in because, once again, there's a whole genre that everybody forgot.
And, you know, a great analogy for hip hop along that exact same wavelength is, you know, I used to mix everything for Just Blaze, and we'd mix a record for 12 hours, and Just would come in and we'd work on it, and we'd finish the mix, and then Justin would sit down and he'd listen to it, and he'd be like, all right, to, you know, as a sister, okay, I need my MPC, I need a turntable, I need this, and I need my records. And for the next 4 hours, he would just, the mix was done. Then he would re-envision what it could be, pull it apart, reproduce, sometimes major sections. Sometimes we would rearrange the song, and then by the end of 24 hours, it would be almost a completely different thing, but way more produced and thought out and like next level. Just the watching these guys have the ability to hear something finished and go, nope, not done. I heard All the Lights before Rihanna was on it and before Kid Cudi and all of those people were on it. And I was told, yeah, the song is done. They're ready to mix it. And then 2 months later, I heard All the Lights in Here, baby. That wasn't on there 2 months before the record came out when I was told it was done. Like, these things evolve. Kanye is another one who has an amazing ability to hear something and evolve it over time into something that nobody else could. It's impressive.
Rodney Jerkins explained that the other day. I think he was up. It said talking about the "Say My Name" song, and we were mixing it at Pacifique, and I spent a good chunk of getting it. And he looked at me. He said, "Jean, I don't like this." I said, "Are you sure?" And he said, "Yeah." And redid the whole drum track, redid some certain elements of it, left the vocals alone because the song was actually really good. But it became to be an amazing song. And it was a testament of what an ego producer versus to a true artist producer would do. Kanye, as crazy as Kanye is, we can talk about all that shit.
But superpower is pulling in other creatives and surrounding himself with the elite people to let him accomplish his vision. It's not they're guiding him; he's guiding them, and they're adding their talent to his creation.
I think there's something to really say to that, but I think the problem is, guys, and if I'm wrong, tell me I'm wrong. I think the lack of leadership in the A&R department is gone. There is no A&R department. And I think that when the records that we used to do, like Teresa Love Everywhere White was a great A&R person for one thing and one reason only, is that she wanted a hit record and she allotted that time. The means of producers having the ability to do that is not, it's often not. Oh, we like that track. Get someone else to write on it. Now put the artist in there. It's done. It's like almost going like, Keebler elves are running the kitchen again. And I think the artistry is gone. And once again, I'll bring up another record. When I listened to Willow's record and doing that record, it was absolutely, it brought me back to finding out what I liked about music. It was this young artist tapping into something that no one's doing. She wasn't copying anybody. The writer and producer, Chris Griatti, he's a bad motherfucker, man. I wish I could do a record with him. I was only privileged to do the Atmos mixes, but that's a bad motherfucker. So I went back to listen to the Yves Tumor records. Wow. That dude, I hadn't even heard of that dude. And I'm like thinking, I'm one of his biggest fans right now. I think what he did, it was taking David Bowie on another fucking journey. And this guy is like 6 foot something, very androgynous looking. And it all placates to the whole, the mysteriousness of an artist. And I don't think we have that no more. I mean, all the artists that I see right now on Instagram is Fugazi. And I see all the older artists are trying to gump in that Fugazi because they're trying to be young rather than be themselves. Like I look at Robin, and Robin Thicke to me on Instagram is hilarious because he's making a joke out of it. And people don't get it. And I'm like thinking, he's not really being for real. He's just fucking following suit because that's what people want. But he's clowning. The only sincere thing I see with him is when he puts his children up. That's when I see the sincerity. The rest is fucking like, let me see how much I can goat these people. Because he clowns them.
There's a new album that just came out that from this group, I think out of Australia, called the Teskey Brothers.
Teskey Brothers.
Otis Brothers. It's produced by Eric J. Dabowski. This album sounds like it was done 50 years ago by the cream of the crop. And it is so fresh, and it just absolutely is an amazing record. So if anybody wants to hear like old soul done incredibly well in 2023, the Teskey
kid sounds like Otis Redding.
It
sounds like Otis Redding.
Amazing.
Blue-eyed soul, but it's really fucking, and everything about the tones on there was
nailed it.
Oh, it's like Memphis again.
The playing, the feel, the tones.
What's it called again?
Teskey Brothers. Anything from the Teskey Brothers. Anything from the Teskey Brothers. It's fucking amazing.
Yeah. Sam Fender is another one that I really love out of the UK.
I don't know him.
Sam Fender is like what I wish Springsteen still was.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, man. Sam Fender is amazing. So there's a few like ones that I feel like have really cracked the code of the mix of great songwriting and great production and great delivery and then great live. And
there's definitely a disconnect now of what a record should be. Like there's so much, it's like find a hot beat, artists write to it, or writers write for the artist to it, and they slap the vocals on and it's done. And they never go back to the beat and work it around the written vocals.
I think the good,
and that's
I think
such a
the really good producers
such a bad
do
thing.
That. Like yourself, I've seen you do that, Bob. So I think musicality is coming back, and you're hearing it. The guitars are up. Rock and country and just musical influence music is definitely up in streams. Look at the charts. Look at Spotify top 50. We've got virtually a banda like Latin. We've got like a
guitars
Latin.
Are on the comeback,
we've got a Latin banda at like top 5 spot. Yes, it's connected to Bad Bunny, but still, that's like literally a full band, thing going on. Lots of country stuff, lots of like singer songwriter with a lot of instrumentation. So that's awesome to see all that coming back. So dust off your old 6-string.
I wonder if the pandemic had anything to do with guitars coming back into music. Just people being
Stranger
inside
Things.
And, you know what I mean?
Stranger Things.
Oh, you think so?
Definitely Stranger Things. Because the whole Play With Me video came back with the surgeon, with the guitar player from Stream. Everybody, like my daughter's listening to fucking Metallica right now, and she's never listened to
that
Metallica.
finale was crazy.
Yeah, so a lot of it, because of that, and it had to deal with the fucking pandemic. A lot of these kids were actually watching YouTube videos, learning how to use Ableton, and then all of a sudden you see a guitar player, and you see the guy Tim Henson from fucking Polyphony, who's doing this extraordinary guitar acrobatics, which I don't get, and I'm a guitar player, and I consider myself okay because
Me
I'm
too.
old now.
I'm a hack.
I don't practice as much as I used to, right? But these young derelicts are on another level. But here's the thing: it's tapping into
Right.
more than one community. You're seeing like female black rock guitar players coming out, like this girl named Raven that's coming out. She is fucking killing it, doing old Dokken songs. People are listening to Dokken again. And it's like, because of the song quality. Because, listen, I know the 80s hair metal shit was like glampy, but there were actually some really good songs out there. Fucking Wingers. Let's just think of Beavis and Butthead with that Wingers shirt on. They wrote some great songs,
They
but
did.
that was that pop sound. If you look at the charts from 1983 to 1994,
Lot of rock.
5, see
It's
a lot of
funny.
rock
I'm
artists
actually
on there.
working with
A
a
lot of rock artists.
female black rock artist. Her name's London Goddess, actually, and the first record is like kind of 90s
Oh
homage
God.
to Rage Against Machine kind of vibe. I was like, holy shit, this is so fresh. You know, it was like, I don't know if this is gonna
Right.
hit right now, but it's so fresh that I fucking love it. I hope it hits, you know.
What
I
hits is
did
unpredictable.
I did Babe Animal, and we did that during COVID. The song was called Rage, and I did everything via internet, and it was basically Rage Against the
Wow.
Machine meaning trap, and it was fucking incredible. And it's like the only problem is there was no funding behind it, and she is absolutely a crazy artist. She's absolutely batshit crazy. The song is fucking great. It came at a point where it was basically the assassination of that young man, that man, you know.
Crazy.
It was a
Yeah.
lot to the record, and it's, you're talking about a proud black woman doing a song like that. And I think that we tend to forget rock and roll
Right.
came from R&B. The true rock artist
Right.
was Little Richard,
Right.
Chuck Berry. How dare you say, and I'm married to a very proud black woman. So you can't tell me my kids can't fucking do rock music because their color of their skin.
Right.
How fucking dare you to insinuate and a
Right.
female to boot. So now we lost one of the greatest black rock icons of female
Rest in
icons
peace.
of all.
Rest in
We
peace,
lost
Tina
Tina
Turner.
Turner. That is a
Yep.
rock artist that happened to do R&B soul. And it's like I get so peeved on that shit. I really do. So it's like when I remember, and I'm going to keep the executive's name out of it. He had the audacity to say, and now mind you, this is before I got married, and you know, I've been the way I am for many, many years. But when he said, "Yeah, no black rock artist is ever gonna make it," and I looked at him, I said, "I'm about to prove you wrong." And he's a big rock guy, and he made some great rock records. I looked at him, I said, "You motherfucker!" I was like, "No, that ain't gonna happen." So to this day, I'm glad you said.
Yeah.
Who said that? Nico, you said about London. Please tell her I said hello, and please tell her, man, if she needs somebody to
Absolutely.
collab,
Will do. I'm sure
I'm
she
her
would love that.
Huckleberry.
She is an
Trust me.
amazingly talented artist.
I would
Absolutely.
love.
I did mix. Yeah, I mixed quite a
Are you
few. I think I
mixing it?
mixed all her records so far.
Well, then you're gonna
Let's
be mixing
go.
my. Then you're gonna be mixing my shit, because tell her, because honestly, the stuff that I'm trying to do right now is to create, because you know we had a real bad tragedy happen to us last year. Actually, we celebrated 1 year of it, and I'm gonna tell you right now, guys, I don't give a fuck anymore. I just want to be happy. And I think the industry kind of jaded us all because we're after that money chase. And I'd rather work with artists that actually want to do real records. When people ask me to do production right now, they say, "Well, yeah, it doesn't sound like this artist." I said, "Okay, that's it." Well, you're not going to change it? Nope. Because there's nothing I can do to change your mind because you want to sound like that artist. And you're not doing any justice to the artist that you're working with right now.
Right.
If you want a carbon copy, shame on you. If you want a real true artist, because that's why everybody was doing so well when we first started out. Everybody was different. Everybody was different. Everybody was doing different stuff. Bob is probably one of the true hierarchies of doing different shit. He was doing fucking K-pop shit before K-pop was like nobody wanted to tap into that world. Everybody thought, "Well, Bob, what the fuck you doing?" I said, "Hey, man, this is creative, and I'm making money out of it." The budget was low. I know, Bob. I know that budget.
But he's like, hey, at least
The
they give
budget
me
was
nice
definitely
CD
low,
boxes with the
but look
albums
at,
and stuff and T-shirts, you know. Yeah.
but you see what I'm saying? It's like that to me is more important to me right now. So like when I mix a record, and I'm not trying to be egotistical, when someone tells me, "Yeah, we want you to mix this," it goes, "Wait a minute, I see a reference mix in there that says somebody else mixed it." Because yeah, we didn't like the mix. I said, "Well, how many times did you ask him to do it over?" He goes, "Oh, we just did it once. We didn't like it." I said, "Did you talk to him?" And sometimes mixers can be assholes. But they said no. I said, "Well, I'm not mixing it." I said, "You need to go back to that guy." And he's actually a predominant guy. I'm not going to do that to my fellow brethren. As much of an asshole he can be, I'm not going to do that because he's still my friend. And it's like you have to support our community. 100%. And nowadays, and no offense to the young guys, but they'd rather go to a young guy to put a fucking L2 across the mix because it was $500. And they wonder why it doesn't sound good. So now that kid that did it, and he's boasting around that I did this mix that sounds like shit because they didn't want to spend the money. And it's like our whole hierarchy is changing. And I'd rather not do that as a mixer, no matter how much money I'm losing or gaining. It's not about the money no more. It's about I can't do anything else. I can't. I don't want to. I don't want to fucking sell cars. I don't want to sell, I'd rather cook at home. I'd rather be a house husband than do that. Shit, I'd rather do that. I'd rather bake bread and fucking make brownies and cheesecake all fucking day.
Could I do that? That would be nice. I would take
Dude,
that.
I have triple duties at the house. And one of them is ever since COVID, the kids started eating differently because I'm the cook of the house. My wife cooks, but I'm the guy who goes in there because I'm a mixer.
Everything.
I got to make sure that tastes right. I got to make sure, dude,
Rosemary.
You're
still mixing.
That's
exactly.
You're not doing anything different. Exactly. You're still mixing.
But tell you one thing, guys, rosemary salt on everybody. Trust me on that shit.
I have to check that out. I cook every day.
Rosemary salt.
So I'm gonna wrap this up on this food topic.
I need
on this.
If I was gonna do something else, if I was gonna do something else outside of music, I would repo cars because those TikTok videos of car repos are hilarious.
Oh man, let's just hope we all stay in music. But I'm gonna wrap it up with another food analogy and just kind of segueing off of Jean Marie's kind of analogy is when I first started working with Dave, and he asked me, he's like, "Hey man, let's make some quick, maybe make some cereal. That's real quick. We gotta go." So I make him a bowl of cereal, and he's like, "It's just a little bit too much milk in it." And I knew that, but I was like, "Man, it's like the end of the milk. I'm just gonna pour the rest of it in, whatever." But I just could tell it's a little too much milk for the cereal. But he was like, he called me on it, and I was like, "Oh shit!" I just started working with Dave, so I'm nervous,
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, "Here, come here, Nico. Let me tell you something." He said, "Look, mixing and making food are, it's like an analogy he made. He's like, mixing and making food or making a mix is just like having a good meal. It's like, it's got to be well balanced. You can't have too much milk or too much cereal, or else it's going to be too crunchy or too soggy. The same goes in a mix. You have to have everything kind of well balanced. You got to kind of keep tabs on everything and make sure that it all comes together real nice, And it was just like, it was like a holy shit moment for me, because I'm like, I'm gonna get fired, because I made a bowl of cereal wrong. But in reality, he's just trying to show me that everything has a space, everything has a place, and there's a reason why you do things, especially in our industry. So I thought that was really cool.
Did you
I
remix it? Nico,
offered,
just put more
but
cereal in it.
he said it's too far gone. You already turned it in, you know. So you got to learn. You got to learn.
Oh my
No
God!
revisions. No
I
revisions.
should have. I should
Do a
have. And I was
recall,
even
Nico.
thinking, I was like, man, should I scoop a couple spoonfuls out before I walk it in there? You already know. It was. I was all, you know, as a first time intern or assistant, you want everything to be just right. You want to do your very best that you possibly can. So I was like, man, I really hope he likes this. And it's just a bowl of cereal, you know. But
But yeah, it's just I think the hardest mixes, just to segue off of that one, I think the hardest mixes are the easiest mixes.
Yep.
When it's just the vocal and guitar.
150,000%.
What do I do? Do I add more?
You know, it's like,
do I take away?
it's too much reverb.
Yeah.
Dude, that Wu-Tang Once Upon a Time in Shaolin album was, we
Wow.
mixed it all analog on the
Ooh.
SSL with like no plugins. And the hardest thing to do on that fucking album was nothing. It just needed the right balances and very minimal EQ and occasional light compression and a little bit of panning. Anything else made it sound not like Wu-Tang Clan anymore. And
People forget about faders.
it's all knowing the vibe you're going for.
People forget about faders.
Yeah.
Yes.
Balance
and that's
everything.
and that is the all right, so I did this thing for Pure Mix, and everybody's asking me about X, Y, and Z. But there was one big element that was missing. The rides. Because it's so simpler not to bring the fader up with the finger. So all you have to do is get a Personas or some type of box and just do this. And just do that. I mean, they can say, yo, your bass sounds amazing. You do that last. I say, yep. But they tend to forget I don't over compress my bass.
Right.
So guess what you got to do? Don't sidechain the shit. What the fuck? Just sidechain it. No, man. Get in there. Get in there. It's like are you gonna be, listen, it's like when you get in with your girl, man, you're gonna stay still going like
my
this.
Boy. That's my boy.
Get right in there. Smack it, flip it, rub it down.
So my short list takeaway from this episode is Teskey Brothers, Dr. Faze, and Rosemary Salt.
Nice.
Rosemary Salt's a motherfucker, guys. Real simple. Just go to Sonny Harrell on YouTube. Trust me. I learned how to make brownies off that motherfucker. And I'm telling you, field gold. I'm telling you, man. I became fucking Cookie in this house. I swear to God. But that Rosemary Salt, you go like this, done. I'm telling you, on fish, on chicken. Oh my God. I made chicken last night. My wife said, oh my God, dude, it's all about the sprinkles.
There you go.
It's like EQing. It's just like compression. It's just like knowing what to do, when to do it. And here's another thing. And Bob, where are you from originally, Bob?
Me in Cincinnati.
Both of
wow.
us.
So is Ken.
Oh, no shit. My mother-in-law lives in Cincinnati, Evendale. I was telling Ken that.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
I'll tell you one thing, though. Cincinnati, there's a music store that I went to in Cincinnati, downtown Cincinnati, that I held a $28,000 Telecaster. I walked in. Do you know the music store that's down there, Ken?
No.
Bob?
Nobody knows I'm here.
There's a huge vintage guitar store there.
Still?
I went in there. I don't know.
I'm Googling
So I played a fucking vintage Telly from 1956. And it sounded, as a guitar player, it just sounded like, oh my God, the pre-CBS. It was amazing. It was made in 54, 55, but it was still part of the CBS run, but it's still part of the pre-CBS run.
Well, gang,
Alrighty, well,
it's
let's
been a
wrap
pleasure.
this thing up and all say our goodbyes.
Well,
What a
let
fucking
me
great hang with all you guys, man.
let me say thank you so much for the
It
invite.
definitely played in my
I
head.
wish you could call me every time because I would love to keep doing this because I miss you guys. I really, really do. I miss
So
you
great to
guys a
see
lot. You know, it's like, you know, Fareed, we'll get to know each other even more
Same.
so because I'm a little bit of a cuckoo. Dude, I'm
Wow.
actually smoking cigars again, dude.
Wow.
That's how much I'm like relaxing right now. I'm even having
Ooh.
adult beverages now, boys.
Chill
Oh yeah.
time.
I'm having something slightly more relaxing than cigars.
Oh, I saw in the corner of my eye. That's actually in the studio. Next time I'm going to show you the studio that we're building inside, and now I'll show you the plans that we're going to do out here. That right there, guys,
Wow.
is going to be the guest house area.
Wow.
Oh, look at that.
That's going to be where the studio is going to be at. I already started digging the shit out, and that I just have to get the funding to build it out. So it's going to be like a guest house, but a
Wow.
la recording studio.
Incredible.
That's going to be
That's what's
so
Very
dope.
nice.
so this is what everybody's going to see because that is where it's going to go. So the studio is
Wow.
going to look out
Dude,
that way.
incredible.
So dope. That's going to be
Nice.
so cool.
I just want some life. You know what I'm saying? Some
Yeah.
life to the shit.
I'm going to be back in LA in October, man. I got to swing through and say hello.
Absolutely, bro. Let's go.
go.
We'll go bother Bob. Hey, Bob.
There you go.
And you know,
There you
you know, Bob spells his name backwards.
That's what I hear.
I do.
He told me last time I was in LA.
Yeah.
I saw him.
Guys,
Yes.
Yep.
thank you so much for the invite.
Yes.
Please invite me again if you can. I would love to come back and just say, hey, talk about recipes.
Absolutely.
I'll
Thanks
have
so
my
much,
brownie
Jean
recipe.
Marie, for stopping by, cooking up with
Do
us,
that.
sharing some knowledge, dropping some gems.
Yes.
Much appreciate. Thank you for your time and the wisdom. Man, what a great
Anytime.
episode. What a great episode.
Anytime.
Don't forget to share, comment, like, and subscribe. And see you next time on Faders of the Lost Art.